Whether you are traditionally published or self-published, authors are public figures. Let's just take a moment and let that sink in. How we portray ourselves online, how we interact with readers and reviewers matter. Whether we like it or not, we have to open ourselves to criticism. And it's important that we conduct ourselves professionally. Having opposing views, even controversial opinions is okay, but we have to be professional about it. Some of us might already have the knack to conduct ourselves in such situations, or we might have to train ourselves. It's important to know the boundaries you want to have for yourself when it comes to engaging with readers and reviewers. So consider how you want to conduct yourself online. When you're building an author platform and your brand as an author, think about these things. And since we are on the topic of reviews, I have seen a spike in my book sales, especially on Kindle Unlimited. If you're one of the wonderful readers who picked my book recently, consider leaving a review on Amazon. It'll mean a lot to me. There's a link in the description that will take you to the review page. And if you do leave a review, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Now, reviews are important for authors, and asking for reviews is awkward at best. But there are some things that you should consider and keep in mind while asking for reviews. If you're approaching someone for reviews, do a basic research to find out if they read in the genre of your book before you ask them for reviews. Generally, reviewers have these details on their website, so check there. Be polite and courteous. This should go without saying. Let me be frank, we are not doing anyone a favor by giving a review copy, so let's not behave entitled. Especially for us indie authors, this is a very tricky thing. You have to be professional. If something is not panning out the way you want, walk away from it and don't say things that you'll regret later. Nothing is worth tarnishing your name. Also, expect an honest review. Be open to receiving a negative review and prepare yourself for that. You cannot stop someone from giving their opinion, and that's what you want. Their opinion, their review of your book. And that can be something you don't like. Just like you have some guidelines for yourself, how you go about doing things, book reviewers have their own personalities and how they like to do things. And you have to accept that and know that before you go about asking for reviews. And it can be hard. I'd recommend that you don't engage with negative reviews. If a reviewer is being thoughtless and tags you in a negative review, untag yourself and don't engage in it. I feel readability plays a big factor in how people receive your book. Let me give you an example. I have a poetry chapbook. I sell it as a chapbook. Now, people who don't understand that term feel the book is very thin. And I get this criticism a lot. But it is a chapbook and it is supposed to be thin. So for me, to bash the reviewer who leaves these comments makes no sense. Another criticism that I got, but not many, was that my book was too simple. When I was writing these poetry, I knew the reader that I was writing for, and I had the readability factor in mind. I wanted this book to be easy for anyone to read and not necessarily only for people who read a lot of poetry and have a higher readability level for poetry. There were a few people with higher readability level, that's to say they read poetry and understand deep poetry and understand the structure of poetry, etc. So these people picked my book and they weren't impressed. But there were far more people who read my book and said that they don't read a lot of poetry and were skeptical but enjoyed it and liked the fact that it was simple and easy to understand. I'm sharing this to give you an example of how readability can be a big factor in how people review your books, and you have to understand how to read and interpret these kinds of reviews. As a writer, I cannot be mad at the negative reviews. Now, troll reviews are separate and you should just ignore those. As an author, you have a brand and all the actions should be in line with that, even if you don't like it. But also give yourself some grace. We are all humans and will slip up here and there. But for the most part, we should have some rules for ourselves about how we will conduct ourselves and respond to reviews and critics. This is just my opinion and how I like to do things. Of course, you're free to have a separate opinion. I hope this was helpful. If you have a question about self-publishing, check out this FAQ playlist, and I'll see you in the next one.